The title of this writing is Advice versus Input. Do you offer advice or do you offer input? It depends. If you expect the sage wisdom you're offering to be followed, you're offering advice. If you're offering what you consider the most productive course of action without any expectation, you're offering input. Advice seems to flow downhill at you like an avalanche. Input is just there for the choosing. If you're a parent, chances are you're offering advice, no matter how you disguise it. Advice is rarely accepted. Most often when you receive input, you're paying for it. Input is high-priced advice without expectation. It's easier to offer advice than it is input. Just decide what you think someone else should do based on what you think you would do in that situation. There's the rub. Advice is more about you than it is about them. Reminds me of a story. My dad was always on me about the length of my hair when I was a teenager. Longer hair was a fashion then, but it was never in fashion with my dad. It was a constant source of contention between us. Then one day we were traveling together in the car and the topic came up again. After my dad had his say, I just asked him why he couldn't let it alone. I said, I'm doing okay in school. I don't get into any trouble. I don't do drugs, and I always come home on time. What's the big deal about my hair? His answer? I'm embarrassed about it with my friends. When his dictate, advice, was ignored, it seemed to suggest to him that he didn't have proper control over me, and that would reflect badly on him with his friends. It was more about him than it was about me. Advice is controlling. If you have a dog in the fight, you'll bite to be right. Input lacks the emotional charge that often gets in the way of advice being taken. The telltale sign of advice is that it's jam-packed with these three words: should, must, and ought. Input contains more questions, like, have you ever considered? Or, what do you think is the natural course of events if you continue that action? None of us are likely to stop parceling out advice anytime soon. The question worth consideration is, how likely is it to be followed? The answer to that question will get us more curious about how to offer more input and less advice. All the best, John.